Hello, good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to 30 minutes of Dyslexia with Blessing Ingyape. I am your host for today. My name is Doshima Agura, and I am a certified special needs teacher. I currently work for Dyslexia Help Africa. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you're right here with me, just let me know so I can acknowledge you. And if you're watching the replay, just thank you so much for making our time to watch the replay. So without wasting time, I'm just going to go straight to the point. As we all know, it's just 30 minutes. Today's topic is about questions to ask when choosing a school for a dyslexic child. Yes, questions to ask when choosing a school for a dyslexic child. What do you think? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think it's okay to ask questions before enrolling your child who is dyslexic in the school, or when you go to the school you shouldn't ask questions, you should just go ahead and then enroll your child? Just let me know what you think in the comment section. um First, we've it's really a concern because we've had encounter with parents that um try to get schools for their children, and then at the end of the day some of them realize that their children are in the school where they don't the school is not meeting up with the children's needs. And then on the other hand, we also have a parent that at the end of the day she realized that her child is in a school where they are meeting up with her child's need, and she's happy, she's satisfied. So it is very important for you to ask questions when you're trying to get a school for a dyslexic child. When you go to the school, you should ask questions. And then I actually have a few points here that I want to talk about within this 30 minutes. And from time to time, I'm going to have to look at the points, just so I don't talk and not cover the areas that I need to cover. So first, the first question you should ask when you're trying to get a school for your child is to find out if um that school knows what dyslexia is. Ask questions like, do you know what dyslexia is? Because like I said, I talked about some parents that we've had encounters with. One of the parents went to a school. She was trying to get a school for her daughter, and when she got to the school, she asked them that, sorry, do you know what dyslexia is? They said yes. And along the line, as she engaged them the more, she realized that they didn't really have what she was looking for. So she was able to go to another school until she went to another school till she was able to get the right school for her daughter. So you can imagine if she didn't ask questions. And asking questions is one thing, and then asking the right questions is another thing. She was able to ask the right questions because she has actually attended the dyslexia training here at Dyslexia Help Africa. So she had the knowledge, she knew what she was looking out for, so she was able to ask questions, and now her daughter is in the right place. And then on the other hand, we also have a parent that took her son to a school, and then after enrolling her son, she enrolled her son this January, and then right now she's trying to pull the son out already from the school. It all boils down to the fact that she was not able to ask the right questions. She didn't even ask questions. So it all boils down that to the fact that you need to the fact why the training is very, very important. It is very important to attend the dyslexia training so as to have the knowledge. Once you have a child that is dyslexic, it's very important for you to attend the dyslexia training so that you're going to have knowledge, you're going to have know the right questions to ask, and then you're going to also be the best advocate for your child. You're going to be able to advocate for your child. So the second parent found her son in a place where they are not meeting up with the son's needs, and she's trying to pull the boy out from the school. So it is very, very important for you to ask questions when you're trying to get a school for your dyslexic child. First thing to do is to ask them if they know what dyslexia is. Sometimes they might start to tell you that, yes, actually, we don't have children with dyslexia. We don't have, we used to have, blah, blah, blah. When they start stories like that, sometimes it could be an indication that they lack awareness for what dyslexia is. So it is very important to ask the school if they know what dyslexia is. And then asking them what dyslexia is alone is not enough. So this will take me to my next question, which the second one is for you to ask them. Second question is, what program does your school use to provide support for dyslexic children? What program does your school use? Finding out what the program the school is using is also very necessary, because it's going to let you know if the school is targeted at, if the program they are using is targeted at phonemic awareness. You know, one of the core problems of dyslexia is phonemic awareness. So it's going to help you to know if that program they have, is it structured, is it aimed at phonemic awareness. So it is very important for you to also ask if the program the school is using. Sorry. Okay. All right. So so the next question I have is another important thing to ask is finding out if the school, the method of teaching they are using, what teaching approach are they using in that school. Are they using the multisensory, or it's just the traditional way of teaching, where it's like just a one size fits all, where a teacher just walks into the class with one note for all the children? Is that what they are using? It is very important to know, because I offer intervention for dyslexic students so I've had opportunities to be in different schools, and I see how some of the schools teach. Some of the schools don't use multisensory at all. They don't use visuals to teach. They don't use videos to illustrate what the message they are trying to pass to the children. For instance, now a teacher walks into the class. I am teaching erosion, and then I come into the class. I don't even have any picture to show my students what erosion looks like. I don't have any video to show my students. So they are just trying to create an image in their head of what erosion is. So it is very important. The multisensory approach is one of the teaching approach that works very well for dyslexic children. So it is very, very important that you find out the teaching approach the school is using, as this will also be very helpful for your dyslexic child. And another question I have is for you to ask the school. This is another very vital question that you need to ask. Do your school offer subjects like French, Hausa, or yes, is it compulsory? French, you know a lot of schools offer those subjects, French, Hausa. Is it compulsory for my child to take all the subjects, including French, including Hausa? Is it compulsory? You need to know from the onset, because a lot of times you realize that your your dyslexic child has is overwhelmed with the number of subjects he or she is offering. So the workload, you realize that the workload is too much, the struggle is too much. You begin to think of, okay, what if we reduce the workload for the child? What if he drops subjects like French, other subjects that are not, at that point, the child does not need, so that that period can be used to support him. And then you hear things like the school trying to tell you, impose that subject on the child, that no, it's actually very compulsory for the child to offer these subjects. So at that point, you see, you guys begin to go back and forth with the school, the parents, or the child support. So it is very important to ask from the onset if it is compulsory, or those periods can be used to support your child, your dyslexic child. So it is very important also to ask those questions. And another thing is that, because I've actually witnessed this very question that I just asked, if you offer subjects, if it is important to ask if the school offers subjects that are relevant, and you think that for now your child does not need them. I offer intervention for a girl who is offering French. I mean, this girl is just trying to she's just struggling to read. Reading is a big deal, such a big deal for her, and then she's now forced to learn a second language, which is French, which is Hausa. So sometimes when I go there, she's offering French. She doesn't even, because she has not even finished learning how to read. You see the struggle of her trying to understand what they are saying. And then the other day, the teacher even told her to stand up and call and read out something from the previous class. And I had to just speak to him aside, that this is not right. You know very well that this girl has issues with things, stuff like this, with reading. You know what, you know that she has a problem. So telling her to read French in front of the class is not right. So you see them do things like that. For me, that is, I am supporting her. I think that that subject is not compulsory for now. It can wait. But the school thinks that that subject is compulsory for her to offer. So that's sometimes when you don't ask these questions from the onset, those you begin to, when it's time, you begin to have little issues with trying to sort out all of this. So it is very important for you to ask this particular question. And another question for you to ask is, you should ask the school if they differentiate instructions for the children, to if they differentiate their instructions to meet the needs of other children. Because you cannot tell me that in a class of, you have children in your class and they are all going at the same pace. It is not possible. So sometimes the only way to sometimes one of the methods we use to meet up the children's needs in that kind of classroom, like a diverse classroom where you have different learners, is for you to differentiate your instructions. This child is learning, is still learning her sounds. This child is learning how to read. This child is learning a simple addition like 1 plus 1. So you cannot come in with a one size fits all for all these learners in your class. No, it doesn't work that way. This same student of mine that I said I offer intervention for, there was a one of these days I was there, and then the teacher came in. It was time for dictation. He just said to them, okay, bring out your pen and your papers. It's time for dictation. And okay, I'm like, okay, so let's see how this goes. So because that was what he had for all the children, he didn't plan that, okay, this I have a student here who cannot read. I have a student here who cannot really spell. I have a student here who can write very fast. He was not thinking of his learners. He was just thinking of the message he had to come and pass to them, and then he just came to the class like that. All he needed was for them to just give him what he wanted. So that's another thing you need to ask. If I was not there, a lot of times when I am not there, or Coach Blessing is not there, a lot of times when things like that comes up, she usually fails that topic. If it's a test, if it's exam, sometimes she just fails that completely, because you come up with words like, okay, spell number one, affirmation, number two, scholarship. How do you expect, like, you have students, you don't come on, even if you don't know what dyslexia is, you have students and you don't know their cognitive ability, you don't know what your student is capable of doing. So it is very important to ask them if they have the differentiate their instruction. Like if they were differentiating instructions to meet the needs of their children, they will be like, okay, um this student is reading, this student is doing addition, this student is doing something else. So it is very, very important for you to find out if the school differentiates instructions. And I also have another question before we round up. Okay, but before then, okay, let me quickly. Okay, good morning, Coach Lola. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. Um, so this is going to take me to my question before the last question for today before we round off, which is, do they have you also need to find out if the school has accommodations and um modifications for the children. That is also one very important thing to find out. Does your school have accommodations for dyslexic children? Does your school have modify exams, tests for the dyslexic students? You need to also find out this. This is very, very important, because one of the schools I go to, usually when it's time for exams, I have this dyslexic student that has difficulty with breathing. And when it's time for exams, what works for her better is when you read the questions. When you read the questions to her, she's able to comprehend and tell you the answer. So most of her exams that we've gone there to support her, we read the questions out for her one at a time. She tells you the answer in her understanding, you put it down, and then she copies it. So we've been doing this for a couple of terms now, but the school is still not understanding um what works for the girl better. So each time they are writing a test or exams and we are not there, it's usually a challenge, a very big challenge for her. It's either she fails or When I come, I tell them to, I ask for her script so that she can rewrite that test or exam again. So you need to find out if the school has that support, if the school can accommodate your child, your dyslexic child. You need to find out if your school, that school you're trying to enroll the child, can modify these things for your child. Another thing is giving extra time. Does your school give extra time to children with dyslexia? You need to also find out that, because a lot of times, before, sometimes children with dyslexia, when they are struggling to read, and then the amount of time they put in trying to read and solve the questions, is, you realize that other children that are not at the same pace with them are usually already done, and then they've gone to submit their work. So you see the child still struggling to put in her thoughts on the paper, and like it's just so much. So you need to also find out if the school has accommodations and modifications for children with dyslexia before you enroll your child. Yes. So another thing is, I also have so there was this, I was talking about the multisensory. I really want to emphasize on that. It is actually very important that you find out this question. Is the school, I started from, okay, the first question is, find out what dyslexia is. The second question is, find out what program the school is offering, is using to support children with dyslexia. It is very important to find out what the to find out the program that the school is using. Is it targeted at phonemic awareness? Like I earlier said, that one of the core problems of dyslexia is phonemic awareness. So is the school, the program they are using, is it aimed at phonemic awareness? That was the second question. And the third question is, it is also very important for you to know the method of teaching the school is using. Is it the traditional way of teaching? Are they using the multisensory approach to teach? Because a lot of some schools that I've been to, they don't use that multisensory approach at all. Multisensory approach is what works for every child. It's not just children with dyslexia. I mean, you're using visuals to teach, you're using videos to teach. It makes teaching easier, and it makes it easier for these kids to comprehend the message that you're trying to pass to them. And that was the third thing. Find out the kind of teaching approach. And the fourth one I mentioned was to find out if the school offers subjects like French? Do they offer Hausa? Is it compulsory that my child will take these subjects? What happens when I don't want my child to offer Hausa or French for now? And then, so that we can use that time to support the child in other areas. What if I don't want my child to do that? What happens? And then my next question was to find out if the school differentiates their instructions to meet the needs of their children. Does the school, it is also very important that you find out if the school differentiates their instructions, or they just come to the class with one lesson for all the children. Come on, it doesn't work that way. You have different, you in a classroom where, even if you don't know what dyslexia is, like I said earlier, you need to understand that you have different learners in a classroom. There's no way you will have the same types of learners in the classroom. It's not possible. So you need to understand as a teacher that you have different learners in the classroom. So this one lesson I'm bringing, I am not including other children. So what do? I need to find ways of carrying everybody along. So it is very important to also ask that questions if the school uses differentiated instructions to meet the needs of the children. That was the fourth question. And then the fifth question is um okay, yes, absolutely. VAKT modalities make learning and teaching easier for all learners. Yes, thank you, Coach Lola. Thank you very much for that contribution. Facebook user, okay, ride on Dosh, our super prefect. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments. And then, so I am trying to round off now. And the last question I asked again was, do you have accommodations? Do you have modifications for the children? It's a very important question to ask, because sometimes, a lot of times, like I had already explained, that a lot of times you see children struggling. They need extra time with their task, to complete their task. They need um they need sometimes, you see a child struggling to write or read, and then you're giving the child exams that the child has to read. So how do you want the child to pass that exams? At the end of the day, if the child fails, then are you going to mark that child? Sometimes, because a lot of times, it's not like, a lot of students I have that struggle to read, it's not like they don't know the answer, but because of their inability to read sometimes. But once you read these questions out, so why not give them oral exams? So that is where modification and accommodation comes in. You need to find out if that school has accommodations and modifications for dyslexic children. So that is the five questions we're going to look at today. And if you have any questions, you can drop it in your comment section before we round off. Even if I round off, I can still attend to them. Thank you so much, Coach Lola, for joining. Thank you so much, Facebook user. Yes, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile modalities. Yes. VAKT, yes, visual, auditory, where you teach with visuals, you come with pictures of what you're teaching for the child to see. Auditory, for the child to hear. For instance, you're teaching letter A, you can play a video as the child hears the song for letter A, or sing, or poems. That's the auditory. And then kinesthetic and tactile is the sense of feeling. It could be, an example of that is the sand tray or sandpaper letter, where the child has to trace on the sand or salt tray, and on the sandpaper letters to feel it. So you have the sense of sight, seeing, hearing, touching, and feeling. Or sometimes you write on the child's hand, or yes, body, or the hand, and somewhere on the body. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Thank you so much. We've come to end of today's 30 minutes with dyslexia. 30 minutes of dyslexia with Blessing Ingyape. But I am your host today. Doshima is your host today. Doshima Agera is my name. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.